Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. When I think about motherhood and the space of entrepreneurship, it is two of the most scariest things that anyone who has chosen to be a mom can do. I love being a mother. I love being able to smile, share, grow, have my CEO in the making, observe what it's like to be a business owner, to be able to use the things that are coming out of my mind and create, being in meetings, doing community work, and creating a space that we want to create for long-term wealth. Both are equally challenging. Both are equally scary, but the beauty about being in this space of duality lets me know that when I see her smile, when I see her laugh, when she challenges me to be a better person, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Well, hey there, good people. Hey there. I am so excited to have you join us for another episode of The Real Journey of Entrepreneurship. And guess what, friends? I am not alone. And I always say that I have the best seat in the house because I have courageous entrepreneurs out there who are really, living, dreaming, and creating a space for themselves, their families, and the communities. And my next guest is absolutely no different. I have the good benefit and privilege to say that someone is a part of my crew. And a part of my crew means that I have the opportunity to be able to share and exchange ideas, to build, to learn from someone who I met now, I want to say almost a year ago. We happen to have been strangers in business until we were able to connect through one specific space. And yes, definitely a part of my crew. Definitely excited to have the founder and CEO of VeeKast on the real journey of entrepreneurship. And I'm going to tell you, not a hidden secret, right? Because if you happen to be following, liking, and sharing my page at 11375, you will note that we had a business brunch. And also there was a video, and the video was produced by none other than a team at VeeKast under the leadership of Mr. Donvil Collins. So without further ado, welcome to the real journey of entrepreneurship. Donvil! It's so good to have you on the show. How are you, friend?
I'm doing so well and so glad to be here. And thank you so much. It's a privilege and an honor to be on your show. And I know I mean, that talk up was huge, but for me, all hats off to you and what you do and your amazing journey and your amazing success. So grateful to be here.
You see, this is why you got to have good friends because Donville knows the struggle, right? Behind
Oh yeah.
all of the success points is a lot of struggle. So I thank you for shouting me out. And let's get to it, Donville. Let's talk about who are you? What do you do? All things VeeKast and Donville.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, so I'm the CEO of VeeKast. At VeeKast, we're a full service video production house helping corporate and nonprofit clients with their video production, communication, recruiting videos, all videos, just full service, anything video, as well as an audio visual provider for events, providing screens and audio, sound, lighting, all of that. So anything tech, creative, and storytelling, that's our wheelhouse. Outside of business, I'm a husband, a father of four, and just all around, just blessed on all sides.
And what inspired you to start your business? Where did all this inspiration come from?
So it started when I was very young. I had a passion for technology. A lot of people don't know this, but at first, I play four instruments professionally,
Oh,
and I was a musician for my church, one of the main musicians playing for my church. But I was really into the technology side of things, and my church was always hiring outside people to come in and help them with the production of the church. And one day they asked, when I was a teenager, early teens, 13, asked about did anyone want to learn how to do this stuff so we can have members of the church provide the services. And they were pretty much sending us to a actual training program to learn how to do production. So that's when I was around 13 or so.
mm,
And I wanted to do it, but of course it was mainly adults going. It was
mm.
two adults going, and I was a teenager. And I went and did the program at a local college, graduated it, became one their youngest TV producer at the time. So where I started producing my church's program, but then I said, okay, well, what other churches need this? And I started doing others. And it started there.
Mm,
Over the years, I really got into it and became, by the time I was 17, I was producing TV programs for international networks to millions of viewers for a bunch of churches
wow.
worldwide. But it was like, it was just a thing. I was doing it. I felt excited to do it. And then I decided when I graduated high school at 17 that I was going to study film and video in college. So I went to college, to Five Times College in Long Island in Dixwells, New York,
Mm,
and got my bachelor's there for film and video. And the business itself started while I was there. So I was always doing the production and always doing it and getting paid to do it and things of that nature. But I didn't officially register the business until I was in college and someone said, "Hey, are you don't have a business? Are you not writing off this your taxes, all your expenses?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" So that was the only reason I registered initially. I was just like, "What? I could do that?"
yeah.
And then yeah, did that initially doing churches, but then I can transitioned into the weddings
Mm,
and parties industry. Realized very early that I hated that, hated doing that kind of work. And especially, I really didn't like it at all. And then I got my first corporate client, which was Malibu Rum, to do
ooh,
an event in Atlantic City. And I remember at the time I was like, whoa. And they were clear on what they needed, what they were trying to accomplish, what their return was, how much it was going to cost. And it was just so much easier than doing weddings and less of a headache. And that after that one, I said, I'm never doing another. events
Mm.
again, or private videos. It was corporate, nonprofit from there on. So then over the years, we scaled and not doing churches as much anymore, but primarily just doing um, corporate work for marketing, communications, PR, video production. And in all of that, I was always doing also audiovisual for events. So it just ended up being a mashup of this is where I started it in, and we started to scale a little bit after 2014, where I had our first employee. Then over the years, and been growing and growing. Then so that's how we are where we are now.
So there's a couple of insights, and I hope that for those who are going to be listening to this, and I hope you take down some good notes. Right. So first thing I discovered was that where you started is definitely not where you are, right? And
No,
you discovered who the type of client that works well with you in the business model. Oftentimes what we discover, and Donville just shared, and I can definitely attest to this, that when you're first starting, you are throwing things at the wall in hopes that it lands, right? And a lot of times you discover once you get a system, an appropriate system in place that works, it will draw the clients, or you'll be actually creating a client persona or client target that you work well with. Everyone is not your client. So I hope
yeah,
that you recognize what Donville mentioned. I'm going to pause and sound like you wanted to say something else.
yeah. I think it's very important what you just said. I think that's one of the things that even some of the team members that we added on, it was one of the things that we realized is something that's early to inform and understand that it's everyone is not our client. Super important. And it helps you to be able to know to more where to focus all your efforts and your energy and your resources is on the people who fit what you're targeting. Not only from a financial perspective, but also from just the type of client that you need to work with, even whether for the way that you work, your creativity, or even your sanity. I think you got to know what works for you and your company and your culture.
See, Donville's being really polite. I don't want to work with folks that's going to overly stress. When I mean overly stress, there's certain indicators that I've learned early. How we communicate, the type of cadence. In terms of meetings. Um, you know, do I have to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Is that
Hmm.
what we agree? It's a certain behavior that at some point when you're looking at the cost, who do you have to, staff for a specific project? Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. Now, on the flip side, for me, there are things that I do because it makes me tick, right? And what I mean by makes me tick and tingle, everyone cannot afford specific price points, but if I find that at the end of the day that it's something that I find valuable, whether it's, for example, doing career day at a school, right?
Yeah,
Things like that make my toes tingle, because especially when I know that there is a connection to the future. So I'm all about doing things like that. And then there are other things that I really appreciate doing as well, but you have to find and know, this is where the self-work comes in, I believe, and know what will work for you, and also how you can be, when you do find a good business relationship, that you're being super creative and that you're able to really meet the goals of both what you're trying to do and also at the end the client. Donville, you mentioned creativity, so I really appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. And I think especially for us, like my passions and then what I'm big on is the storytelling side of it.
Mm,
So I just my kicker, my ticker, if you will, is just seeing the emotional reaction out of
mm,
people. And that kind of translated to our team. We're kind of always kind of looking for that, especially when we're creating or producing sort of tear jerkers.
mm.
we don't we don't need any additional money for that. All we literally need to know is how do people react,
Mm,
and then we're like, we got wings, we could fly after that. It's just huge. But I think one of the big things that you said too is just in terms of, at least for us, a big thing for us is like, I like when the relationship with between us and our client is not so formal.
mm.
So even with our team, it's a big thing, and especially bringing new people on, that they feel like you gotta use this special like businessy language. And I'm like, no, like you need to we want to develop relationships with our clients where we can, after the job is done, we can sit down and get a drink, we could hang out. That's the kind of relationship that we rather to have. And at the end of the day, I think it works out better for the long term, because people prefer to work with who they like working with, who they like. It's not as much only about just the quality of service. I think you got to deliver on that, else you'll still lose work. But at the end of the day, people got to like you. And we like to work with people we like too, that we can be happy about what we're doing and happy about the results it's creating for them too. I think that's huge.
So I wanna sit in this just a little bit because there's a couple of things that I heard you mention about really understanding business relationships, right? So there was a question that was asked to me recently: is business personal? And I said, absolutely yes. That's what that was my response. And I'm probably like, oh, you separate business from personal. Yes, there are certain boundaries, but I'm still human and I want to
Yep.
be spoken to in a kind manner. I want to be paid on time, right? Or have lines of communication because things do happen. But I also want to be in this creative space. But it's something also that I heard you mention about how you are creating a culture, right? Within your business. Like you're setting the tone that, I want to be able to have a long-term relationship, even though we're doing and creating and doing business with one another. How often and this is one of the things that I say that I really, really appreciate now, right? Being in this space of being an entrepreneur, having businesses, etc. That as the leader, and that I have other leaders, we're creating a culture, one that I I I, I used to work in financial services. No shots, no shade to the industry, but it was tough for a Black woman back then, right? To be able to be within that space and conforming to certain requirements within that culture. And
Hmm.
so within the spaces that you're mentioning, you want to really have intentional relationships that when someone comes in onboarding, that they have the opportunity to feel like they could be themselves
Yeah.
within the culture. So I love what you said about you're free to do what you need to do within business, then it does allow you to still grow and contribute within those specific spaces. So I wanted to share that and highlight, that it's a beautiful thing that you're creating.
Yeah. So overall, I think that it's just huge, because when someone comes in, one of the big things is, sometimes it comes out when we see when they're writing emails,
Mm,
or even when they are talking to the other team members and they're trying to formalize everything. And we're like, no, 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 no. Can you like turn off the fake? Let's turn on the real. Because if you're not doing it with us and you're gonna do this with clients too, then they're gonna see you as a big ball of fake.
mm,
So like be authentic in everything, and even in communication of what's going well and what is not going so well, be authentic. And that relationship, in how you communicate, and people, and it will happen where the clients then reciprocate and have that same level of communication, right? Even between the way that I saw that my team was working with you, I could see, like, that they try to maintain that, just even though we're being good stewards of communication and how we're delivering on the work, at the end of it is kind of like, just connect and be authentic in your communication. They know that we are trying to do good work, but at the end of the day, we want you to like us, and it's important for that it translates to the team, right? Because um, sometimes people like the CEO, like the owner, like the founder, but then they meet the people and it's just like it doesn't really translate. I think it's
Mm.
important for us as the business owners to make sure that the culture is communicated to the team from the beginning and everyone buys into it and has reason to buy into it. So that's huge.
So let's sit in this just a little bit, right? Because I think that as business owners, right, we're always looking to help to grow our business through hiring humans. What is your best practice that you can share, and how do you know that this is the right team member that will help us to grow? Or, because everyone won't stay forever, right? So that's a reality. But while they're there, while you're hiring, what are some of the best practices that you can definitely dive into?
Oh, good question. So for us, it's a couple steps, and primarily we didn't learn it off of, oh, I'm just so smart and I'm such a genius, right? It really came out of learning over time,
Mm,
right? So, and I think a key part of that is that your leaders, your key leaders that help you and manage others, that they are that they fit first of all. And that doesn't mean that they're the same personality. That it doesn't mean that everyone is the same. It's that the overall culture is in them also.
mm,
So what I do, and then what the team does, is we bring people that we're bringing on through multiple phases
mm.
of the interview process. That it's not just me. It before it got to me, it went through two other interviews at first, especially so that what I like to call the BS meter, you know. And that's literally what we call it. So inside you could tell, and even sometimes there are sometimes when we connect with someone where resume wise and credential wise it may not look that impressive, but once you get to connect with the person, they are the right fit. And
Mm,
then it ends up 9 out of 10 just proven right on the back end. They just have the right attitude, right culture. Um, um, where the times that I can recall when we decided to break that rule, and maybe the paper speaks more to what's possible, then you realize, no, we should have stuck with our gut because it ended up coming out in who you're adding to the team. So it's that's one of the big ones, just making it go through multiple people, and really just searching for that ability for the person to be authentic. I think for us, that's probably one of the most important um, things that we're looking for is authenticity. And sometimes, even in our interview process, we're communicating that permission to be authentic, you know, and don't feel like you need to put on a mask. So, um, yeah, that's one of the things we do.
I like that you're phasing in. I'm gonna take that as a best practice, and you know include that into our process. So let's get into the part that probably many small businesses struggle with is storytelling, and you do really well at that. So I learned early on about the importance of utilizing visuals, right? So I'm gonna tell on myself, Donville. My iPhone, I have an iPhone, and it has so many pictures in it. Probably way too much. I mean, I have a beautiful brown baby, not a baby anymore. She's double digits,
She's still
and
your baby. I
yeah,
get
I know,
it.
yeah, but she's at that age, and I have to tell you, you know, it's a technology is beautiful. Comes up your memories, but then I have like 100,000 pictures. That's what it seems like. I do have a couple of thousand, which I'm like, oh, I gotta go through this and maybe store it someplace else. And when you look at it, it does I guess like a recap, or like it tells a bit of a memory or a story. And I'm thinking about the connecting that to the work that you're engaged in storytelling through video, through, all the good things that you're engaged in. Why is that so important? that you, from your experience? I know I don't want to say I'm stating the obvious, right? But just from your experience in the work that you do, why is that so important to tell the story?
I'll start with the short answer and then I'll kind of dive into it a little bit more. And the short answer simply is people connect much easier with a story.
Mm,
People remember stories much easier. Sometimes as business owners or in general when we're communicating, we feel that in order to sell or pitch something home that we need to start giving detailed information. But all that detailed information does in most cases is have people get lost in the weeds.
mm,
We like to talk about the word less is more. And when it comes to storytelling, the less is simply communicate an emotion to me through the storytelling. And I'm much more inclined to remember that. So that's the short answer. But I guess the more kind of detailed answer simply is that when you're doing the storytelling, whether in any form, people, I think one of the things I say sometimes is that people talk about not making emotional decisions, right? Emotional decisions they say are bad decisions, but emotional decisions are the one where you feel more trusting of it.
mm,
Um, so usually when you're trying to communicate, even if it's a business in your service, as you mentioned earlier, you're really dealing with people, with persons that have personalities. And so at the end of the day, um, the thing about it is that really we more are likely to make emotional decisions. People literally force themselves to not make emotional decisions, but most of our decisions as human beings are emotional. We're more likely to lean towards what moved us more emotionally than the one that didn't, whether it be happiness, sadness, um, uh, or a move to want to make change in some way, shape, or form.
mm,
So that's a big thing about storytelling is it's much more memorable. I have some clients too where when they're trying to pitch their whatever it is or what benefit they have, they bring the stats.
mm,
They bring the communication of someone going over some detailed or history, and really what we usually try to lean in and tell our clients, let's try to lean away from that. Ultimately, they're our boss, right? But try to get them to push away from that is to try to communicate more about how this is going to make someone feel
mm.
or how it made someone else feel. And that person wants to feel that way too. The people we're talking to in the video. Let's try to get that across more than the details, because the details people are going to forget. They're not going to forget about that emotion that someone is communicating or feeling or emanating through the screen. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let me see, where do I go next with this, because you packed in some good information. So you're just getting started as a business owner. What are some of the, just things that they can do to help them to think about their story?
So I would say from a storytelling aspect and the way we sort of work backward is
Mhm.
start with the end emotion in mind, no matter what the service is. It could be financial services, it could be construction, it could be whatever it is. Start with the end emotion in mind. And then how can we communicate the end emotion in mind? Say, for example, you made someone a whole lot of money, more money after they return. Let's try to get that communication of how the end result made them feel on screen before you focus on what we could do, focus on what it created, rather than just simply what we can do. So that's usually what I'm thinking about. So even from someone that is doing it independently, and I'm not even talking about video in whatever your communication, right? Video is a good way to do that, but overall, in whatever your communication is, and you're just getting started, um, try to communicate your story about what the end goal emotion that is going to be created from your service is going to create. Like that's what you want to communicate first, because people are going to remember that first. When you communicate that, then they want to dig into, well, how?
Mm,
Tell me what. Then they might ask about the stats, but they're first going to remember the outcome result.
Do you often, thank you for that. Do you often get, um, because we're in such a, what I call a transformative age with AI, um, that I can do what you do, because AI exists. I know that, or does that even come up for you, as one of the concerns that are happening with technology as we're moving at such a rapid rate? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah. To be honest, I love it. Um, at the end of the day, I think sometimes when new things are coming in, we as individuals, everyone can sometimes get fearful or be concerned about what jobs is it going to take away or something of that
Mm,
nature. But I'm always looking at it more so, well, how can we be first in it since it's new and it's hot?
right.
How can we take advantage of it? Not only for us as a production company, but even for our clients in their perspectives, or any of you that are watching in your perspectives, is taking advantage of AI. So for us, we don't even look at it as a threat, right?
Mm,
I look at it more of an asset. And at the end of the day, one of the things I learned early on, is that clients or people, anyone, even for someone that you may be watching and you're going to serve whoever your clients are, or provide whatever products you are for the business, people are not in your industry to do what you do. Like, people don't want to do what you do on otherwise than the other people that also do that specific thing. The clients that could do it themselves, usually what happens when they start trying to do it themselves, they realize, I don't want to do this. I have my desires, my passions, what I want to focus on, and I rather pay someone to do this. Just like in my perspective, there's certain things that I know as a business I need. There's some things that it's like, yeah, we need that stuff, but I don't want to do it. I'd rather pay someone else to do it. Like for me, I hate, you remember this from our communication. I hate going through doing all the minute finance details. At heart, I'm a creative guy. I love to tell stories. I love to drive emotion. I'd rather hire someone else to do certain things, right? And that's the thing I learned early on. There's some things we were, well, if we do this, then they like, no, the best clients for us are the clients that don't want to do it themselves. Sometimes even in our searching or in our prospecting, I learned early on that the best clients are clients that already have done video, or they're already doing it. It's not the ones that haven't done it where you gotta convince them that they should, or they're trying to figure out how to do it themselves. It's usually the ones that have done it, because once they have done it, they already realize the value of giving it to someone else. They don't want to do it themselves. Now they're just looking for who's the best person to do it for them, but they don't want to do it themselves. So, not to be concerned so much about what things competitively, AI or anything else, might take business, but really seeing how you can take advantage of it, whether taking advantage of taking advantage of it competitively or taking advantage of it operationally. I think both ways. It's a good way to look at new technologies or competition threat in general.
mm. So I learned a couple of lessons. And yes, the what I will share now is the time to share. Donvil and I met. We are alum of the 10KSB, Goldman Sachs 10KSB. We were the first Excel group, cohort 40. I always
Yeah.
brag about that.
Brr,
Um,
brr, brr.
no, yeah, it's a you know what? I'm gonna say it is, if you ever have an opportunity, and yes, I am shouting out the Goldman Sachs 10KSB because it was very life changing for me, as I know it was for Donville.
Yeah.
Not only did we have an opportunity to um, build relationship with like-minded entrepreneurs, and I want to put a big stamp, pin it, emphasis on finding your crew, right? Now, I'm also going to say that, just because you are um, on the same journey, you happen to run into a group of peers that maintaining the relationship is hard.
Yeah.
we're all we're all at a point. where we are looking to grow, sell, acquire more business, and we still want to maintain relationship.
Relationships, yeah.
Um, and so we do our best. I promise you, we do our best. But that's how we, Donvil and I met, and we're part of the Goldman Sachs 10KSB. And Donvil mentioned something um, that was really important. That when it's time to outsource it. But also, what I would like to add is don't outsource blindly,
Yeah,
right? Don't
huge.
just give it away just because I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Know what you're outsourcing, right? You don't have to be an expert in it. I want to emphasize that because a lot of
Yeah,
times we get to a point where it's just not that we don't love it, like it. It's just that we're looking to grow the business and we have to be responsible not only for ourselves, but for the business growth to outsource when most appropriately. So I want to elevate that and not let that be like something that you all skip over because
yeah,
when you have the budget resource outsource, right? But I'm gonna add, do not just do it blindly, right?
yeah.
Don't do it
And I
blind.
would even add to that. I'm glad you added that note because I think part of what I learned the hard way too, and you know a little bit about this is as well. I think anyone in business does, but I think it's important to understand and know how to do what you're outsourcing first, so
Right,
that you're outsourcing the heavy lifting, but it's not something you don't understand.
right.
That's how you get burned. So I think it's important to get into, I mean, as a business owner, get into the things that you need to and understand, and then outsource it after that when you know what you want to put all your resources and time into something else.
And that requires, as we learned, we took a deeper dive in, is creating a system that will help you document the process, that the process from where it began to where you transition it over to a new staff member, that there is still updates and that you're still understanding what the outcomes are supposed to be within that task. So I just wanted to emphasize that. In Donville, um, listen, I want to just say thank you. But for just the insight, the input. But I want to ask just two more questions, and then we will transition appropriately to our regular days. Um, what is the one thing that you wish you would have known, given that you have all this wealth of insight and information before starting this journey?
I think, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind, I like to usually stick with the first thing that comes to mind, is one of the things that you just said, because that's one of the things that I communicate to people in my business that are just getting started, which is figure out what you can outsource and not own early.
Mm,
I think one of the things as new business owners we do is we try to, once you kind of figure out what you need to do and you don't know, you try to buy a bunch of stuff and you try to do every single part of the process, and you don't realize that there's some things that even if you're directly providing it, you don't need to own it directly initially, else you're putting a huge burden on yourself to now not only try to build this business, but now try to keep up with this responsibility that you've taken on. So that would be the big thing for me. I early on, I invested, you know, boatloads of money in equipment. Didn't know much. Didn't realize. Didn't really know what depreciation was. Didn't understand how quickly some types of equipment depreciate.
mm,
So then you end up, you know, taking on huge financial burdens early on simply because, at least in the video business, you know, a lot of people in my space, especially if you talk to a lot of camera people, that's one of the things that we burn a lot of money on is equipment. And some of that stuff you learn early on depreciates really quickly. And you could have rented it when you needed it as opposed to owning it
mm,
and
mm,
end up spending way more money on it over time.
mm.
So it's one of those things that um, that's the first thing that comes to mind, at least, is that. And then secondly, hmm, Secondly, I would say is partnerships. The importance of creating good partnerships or connections with other organizations or businesses that support or are involved in your types of business that don't exactly do what you do. And sometimes doing what you do, but maybe capacity wise, you can support each other. Because that in and of itself is a faster path to growth that I didn't know early on. I learned it over time. The the value of connecting and building relationships and networking with other businesses in the same space. That ultimately, at the end of the day, once once you built that relationship, number one, and anyone sees and understands the value of the service that you provide, it's almost automatic to just have it's almost I'd almost categorize them as another salesperson that is just driving regular business into your organization. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Couple more quick questions. What are you reading these days? If you are reading.
Yeah, I would say I'm not a big reader. My mother will tell you that growing up I was always one of those kids that hated reading. And the only thing I would love reading was if it had to do with technology. I could read a book with technology this thick, but I hated reading just for reading's sake. But if I'm reading to learn, I like to read. But more recently, the book I'm reading is Bible. To be honest,
Mm,
that is something that in my earlier years, I just wasn't so consistent about.
mm-hmm.
But I find more and more recently, it's just been impacting me more where I've just fallen in love with just reading a lot. I read a lot now. I read a lot. So that would be mine.
If you can have business, you can have dinner, I'm sorry, with one business leader, one, who would it be?
Good question. The- it's- I don't know if anyone or everyone might know this person, but that one person for me would be Grant Cardone.
I do know Grant. Yes.
Yeah. He was one of the first people that made me realize what I was doing wrong in business sales.
Mm,
Seeing his videos online. I know now he focuses a lot on real estate, but
yeah.
anyone that's known him for a long time know that he really got his name from sales training,
Mm,
and that's it's watching him that being a person that's really more of a nerd, creative person, didn't really understand what is necessary to sell a business or sell your services, and having people understand that and have value in it. And I think he got me out of the idea of making the main efforts of your sales being putting stuff out there and waiting for it to come, and really taught me how to go after the business, not wait for it, not putting things out there and waiting for it to come in. That was really a change of mindset for me that I remember as soon as I started implementing some of his stuff, it started to change my business. But I still feel like there's so much I could learn. If I was just in a room with him, sat down with him for 30 minutes, that would be huge.
yeah, that's all you need is 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes and sometimes less, but
Yeah.
30 minutes is a good time, especially if you are open and willing to listen.
Yeah.
From those who have real world experience. Donvil Collins, the CEO at VeeKast. I am super glad that you took time out of your day to join the real journey of entrepreneurship. And here you go, because I know you all are going to try to ask me, well, how can we get in contact with folks at VeeKast? So, to connect with Donville and his team, please visit VeeKast.com, on the social platforms as well at VeeKast. And that makes it so easy. It's not at this and at that. It's just
Everything is VCast.
everything, which I love. And so, Donville, I thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I look forward to remaining connected and popping in. But I also want to thank you again for having worked with your team for a second year and helping me to create a story of impact through the Full Circle Business Brunch experience. And I'm definitely one of the folks who are shouting you out because it was a really, really great experience in working with you and your team. So
Thank you
that's
so much, and thank you for having me on here. Thank you, everyone watching, for having me on here. And I cherish this relationship, and hopefully be doing this for many more years too.
that's awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Donvil. Take good care.
Thank you. Bye.
So, folks, I am going to tell you that even within this space, right, it's still wonderful, beautiful, but I'm also going to share because when you have the opportunity to be in connection with the CEO of really a production, dealing with events and all these phenomenal things. I actually just want to share. I have permission to share the additional why. I think that the story has been told, the why, but here's more information about VeeKast that I will share.
Why choose VeeKast? For over 15 years, we have been simplifying the process for our clients to get high quality video production and event production. You don't need to have experience creating impactful videos or high-end events. You don't have to know the jargon or technical terminologies. We speak your language and get it done at a high level. People also choose VeeKast because we specialize in emotional video storytelling that pulls at the heartstrings. People choose us for event production and AV services because our process is exceptionally thorough. Nonprofits enjoy our fundraising experience, especially due to our proprietary Fundometer technology. We tailor the process to you so you can be hands-on or off. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at our portfolios for video production and event production here on our website.
And don't take Donville's word for it, take my word for it. But I think it's really important to have the opportunity to be able to share a real world experience. So thank you, Donville, for taking good care of the 11375 team and also being able to share your experience with us. So on that note, I want to say thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. Please don't forget to like, share, and follow us at 11375. And also, it's 11375 on all of the platforms, just like VeeKast. And so I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Look forward to seeing you again on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining. So long. Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375.